What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to JohnnyKpicks. And in this video, I will be going over my full card picks and predictions, along with the bets that I'm looking at right now. Haven't done any yet, but I'm still waiting on those lines to get a little bit better for me for UFC 283 Teixeira versus Hill. Now, real quick, please hit the like button for me. Hit the subscribe button if you're new or if you just haven't yet. And don't forget to turn on those notifications so you don't miss out on any of these new videos that I put out or our live streams. So UFC Vegas 67 was the other night, and although it wasn't the greatest night for me, and especially my bets because I completely bombed those bets, my picks overall were pretty decent. I went 8-3 on them, and for my bets, like I said, not great. I ended up losing minus 6.71 units. So I want to say that was probably the worst betting card I think I've had since I started tracking. I think before that, it might have been close to 6 or even just at 6, but I know it wasn't over 6. So not the greatest way to start the year off, but it is what it is. I'm just going to come back stronger this week, and that's fine. But yeah, for my picks, like I said, I missed the Amavov fight. I picked Amavov, Strickland won. I picked Soriano, and I also picked Ribeiro. So those are my 3 losses. And we'll quickly go through this real quick. I know everyone just saw it, but I always like to do it so everyone just in case. But Charles Johnson versus Jimmy Flick. Charles Johnson looked really good, like he should have. Like I know in his last couple fights before this one, he was kind of a slow starter, but he started out quick. And he got that knockout in the first round, so good win from him. Argueta versus Aguiar. I mean, Argueta will look pretty decent, but he didn't get the finish, so it wasn't that impressive. But good win for him. He did everything he needed to do to win that. Nascimento versus Hernandez. Nascimento looked great grappling. I think I may have underestimated his grappling, and I know it was good, but I just didn't think he was going to get a submission, especially that quick. So good win from him. Rabeski versus Fior. Everybody and their mother had the under 1.5 or Rabeski round 1 or Rabeski inside the distance. I had 2 of those 3, and that was one of my I don't want to say bad bets, but just bets that just didn't happen. But good win from him. He tried for that finish all 3 rounds. He just couldn't get it. Fior's, very strong and durable, and it showed right there. Alazan versus Ribeiro. This may have been one of my bad bets, but Ribeiro looked pretty decent in the first round. And at the very end of that first round, he got clipped. And I was like, uh-oh. And then after the second round hit, he got knocked out right there. So a good win from Alazan. But he's got that power. He could definitely knock you out. Basharat versus Mendoza. Basharat looked amazing, looked very good. I thought he was going to get the finish eventually, but he ended up winning by decision. But very good fighter, and he's only going up. Umar versus Barcelos. Umar looked amazing. I didn't think he was going to be able to get a finish on Barcelos. He made him look easy, and that's not hard, and that's hard to do, I should say. So Umar is the real deal, and we all know this, but I think he will be champion in 2024 sometime. Maybe not this year because he's got to work up the rankings, but we'll see. Maybe controversial decision of the night, Pennington versus Vieira. Very close fight, I will say that. But again, I think the judges got this right. And I know some people will say that I'm wrong here, but I haven't rewatched it. I will say this, but I'm probably not going to. So, but what I remember from memory here is Vieira versus Holm. So Holm was holding her up against the cage. Everybody was mad that Holm lost. Everybody thought Holm won. Well, Vieira won. Okay. So this is like the same thing, but she reversed roles. She was holding up Pennington up against the cage, not really doing much damage. Even in the last round, in round 3, she was literally hugging Pennington and just holding on. And Pennington couldn't get away, mind you, but she was landing the knees. She was landing some shots on her. That looks better. And I know it's not much damage, but that looks better to the judges than just holding on for 3 minutes of cage time. Like, you're not going to win fights like that. The judges have shown you time and time again. This is the 3rd fight that I can think of where, or even 4th, I'm sorry, the 4th fight where the fighters were up against the cage and the person holding the fighter up against the cage and not doing anything lost by decision. So the judges are consistent, at least with that. And I agree with them. I do think Pennington barely edged out Vieira, especially she won the second round. Vieira won the first round. And then the third round was close, but Vieira wasn't doing anything. So gave it to Pennington. She landed the better shots. And the control time against the cage, it just doesn't mean nothing anymore. So look at it that way. If you don't like it, that's how I see it. That's just my opinion. Kopilov versus Soriano. Bad bet here for me. I bet Soriano. I thought he was going to look better, and he looked very bad. I don't know if he got injured during that fight because I know he landed. Kopilov landed some good body shots against him, so I know he was kind of favoring it, and he like winced a few times and maybe even screamed a little bit. But good win from Kopilov. He looked really good. He did start to slow down as the fight went on, but he still had enough get that knockout in the second round. But Soriano didn't look that great. I'll give him that. So it was a bad bet by me. Ige versus Jackson. Ige looked great. He looked like his old self. I should have bet this fight. I was kind of suspect on it, but hindsight obviously is 2020. And Ige, that was like the easiest money of the night. He looked great. Strickland versus Imavov. Again, this may have been a bad bet, but looking at all the red flags coming against Sean Strickland, I mean, he came out there and on 4 days short notice, bigger than he usually is, didn't have as much cardio as usually does. And you could tell, but he still won. He still had better cardio than Imavov. He was landing the better shots. He landed the more volume, and he clearly won that easy. And I like what he said in his speech after he won. Like he really thought he won against Jared Cannonier, and I might be one of those guys that think he actually won as well, because this was almost like the same exact fight to me. Maybe Cannonier was landing a little bit more than Imavov, but I mean Strickland looked exactly like he always does. He makes everybody fight the way he wants to fight, and even on 4 days short notice, not training at all, wanting to go snowboarding this last weekend, but now he's going to go. Think he's going now, but whatever. Yeah, good win from him. And I'm glad he won. It was a good fight, and he looked great. And he's like one of the only 2 or 3 fighters that I can think of that came in on 4 days short notice and looked great. The other guy that I can think of was Victor Henry. So against Barcelos, he looked amazing. So both these, but normally people on track records with 4 days short notice, that just doesn't happen too often. So very good win from him. So, like I said, I'll go over my bets real quick here. And didn't do great. Like I lost. I think I won my very first bet with Charles Johnson, the under in that fight, because that was easy money. And I literally lost the rest of my my other bets, all 6 of them. So, like I said, Imavov, I lost. Soriano, I lost. Ribeiro, I lost. All these were pretty bad bets, I'll admit. The Rabeski bets, I had the under 1.5. I also had inside the distance. I had him in a parlay. I think those just didn't work out for me, and that's fine. And then the Alan Nascimento over. I just underestimated Nascimento's submission grappling. So might have been a bad bet there. Like I said, it wasn't a great card. I got nothing to nothing to brag about whatsoever, other than my picks. I went 8-3. So hey, there you go. But let's jump into UFC 283. We will start from the top. So only a couple different fights, so that's good. Normally we see like 5 or 6 cancellations or replacement fighters, but there's only going to be a couple, so not bad. But I am kind of mad about the Moises Garam fight because I really wanted to see Garam beat Moises, but maybe later. All right, starting up the card here is going to be Daniel Marcos versus Saman Oliveira. Marcos is 13-0, 29 years old, 5'7", with a 68-inch reach. And Oliveira is 18-4, 31 years old, 5'4", with a, we'll say, 67-inch reach. So let's get here. Marcos is making his UFC debut. He's got solid striking, solid power as well. He doesn't have much of a ground game, but he does have okay takedown defense. And he looked pretty good in his last fight on the Contender Series. He won by decision. It wasn't a knockout or anything, but he clearly won that fight. He looked pretty good. And then Oliveira, he is a very good grappler. He's got very good submissions, solid takedowns. He does have to work for them every now and then, so it's not like he's got the greatest wrestling, if you want to say. He can be taken down fairly easily, but I don't think he's going to have to worry about being taken down. I think Marcos is going to keep this fight standing. And Oliveira's striking isn't all that great. He's more of a grappler submission guy. But this is a tough one because this is a striker versus grappler showdown. And on the feet, I'm going to give it to Marcos all day. I think he's the better striker. I think he can land the harder shots, obviously. As long as he can just, stuff those takedowns and basically not get submitted, I think he's going to win this fight. But Oliveira always has that chance. He's just a tough guy to, not get submitted by. So I'm going to go with Marcos here. I know he's the underdog. I'm just not very impressed with Oliveira. And I just think if he can't get those takedowns, he's like one dimensional. He's not going to be able to win this fight on the feet. So I think Marcos will stuff the majority of those takedowns, especially if he can do it early. I do see him winning this fight. I'm going to say by decision. I think he can outstrike him. And yeah, give me Marcos by decision. Close fight to start the night off, but that's what I see with this one. Next fight here is gonna be Luan Lacerda versus Cody Stamann. Lacerda is 12-1, 30 years old, 5'7" with a 73-inch reach. And Stamann is 25-1, 33 years old, 5'6" with a 64.5-inch reach. So Lacerda is making his UFC debut. He's well-rounded. He's got good grappling and striking with power. I wouldn't say he's the most technical of strikers, but he does have really good power when he lands. He's more so a grappler and wrestler, but with good submissions. A lot of his wins have come in the first or second round by submission. So like rear naked choke right here, heel hook, rear naked choke, guillotine choke. So he likes his chokes. So he's more, like I said, he's more of a grappler, but he does have good power in his hands. Um, he can be a little aggressive at times on the feet, so he can leave himself open to counters. So it's something he needs to watch out for there. Stamann is more so a wrestler, but he does have solid boxing. He's very technical and quick counters. So that's why I said you got to watch out for those because he does have good counters on the feet. But Stamann likes to go for those takedowns and use his wrestling to his takedown defense is pretty good if Lacerda tries to go for takedowns. So, but he can be controlled off his back if he is taking down Cody. So that's something he needs to watch out for as well, because I don't think he wants to be on his back when Lacerda's on top of him. So he wants to be the one initiating these takedowns, if anything, or keep it on the feet. He might have a slight advantage just because I think he's a little more technical, but he's going to have a shorter reach advantage too. It's like almost what 8 inches, so 8-inch disadvantage there. That's pretty crazy to me. So he's gonna have a tough time on the feet there. But this is another very close fight, and the lines I know they look a little wide to me, but I'm gonna go with Stamann here. I think he'll be able to use his wrestling and stay on top control and play it safe, maybe stay in half guard most of the time, use some ground and pound, and maybe try to get some submissions here, win some control time. On the feet, though, I think it's going to be close. I think he can outstrike Lacerda, but he's going to have to be careful with that power, though. So maybe early he'll use his wrestling and then keep it on the feet when Lacerda is a little wore down, maybe as the fight goes on. I do see this fight going to decision. I think he'll win maybe 29-28. But this is a close fight. The line doesn't really look great for it, but I'm going to say Stamann by decision. Next fight is going to be Josiane Nunes versus Zara Fairn. Nunes is 9-1, 29 years old, 5'2 with a 67-inch reach. And Zara is 6-4, 36 years old, 5'8 with a 73-inch reach. So let me get to my notes here. Dun, dun. Okay, so Nunes obviously is a very solid striker. She's got very good power in her, big power in her hands, and she can knock out anybody. And she might be small and like short, but she packs a punch. She's not the most technical. She has a lot of looping overhands, looping hooks. She doesn't really go like straight down the middle. She does have an okay jab, but she's mainly looking for that power shot. She doesn't really have a ground game, if you want to say. Her wrestling and grappling is kind of okay, but she doesn't want to use it unless she has to. She doesn't really go for takedowns either, but her takedown defense is okay. It's not the greatest either. So she's just more so a good power striker that's going to try to knock you out. Zarin is an okay striker. She's a little bit more technical, I'd say, than Nunes. She doesn't really have a ground game either. She's not really a KO threat like Nunes is. She's gonna have to, outstrike her with volume and stuff like that. But she is 36 years old, and you know what? She hasn't fought in almost 3 years. That's a big, 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 big red flag for me. And the two fights that she fought, she lost against Megan Anderson by submission, and she lost to Felicia Spencer by a knockout ground and pound. So, not saying those fighters are top of the line, but they're not top of the line. Top of the line. So, I think Nunes will win this one. I think she'll win it by knockout. I think she'll get that eventually in the second round, maybe. Um, but I just don't see how Zara can win. And another thing too with Zara, like normally she fights at featherweight, like 145. So is this a featherweight fight? Yeah, it is. Oh, I'm sorry. So it is a featherweight fight. So never mind about that. I forgot. So yeah, just give me Nunes here by knockout. I don't see how Zara is going to win. She's going to have to outstrike Nunes, but I think Nunes will land the more powerful shots and win it that way if it goes to decision. But I don't think it will. Next fight we have is Warley Alves versus Nicholas Dalby. Alves is 14-5, 32 years old, 5'11 with a 72-inch reach. Dalby is 24-1, 38 years old, 5'11 with a 74.5-inch reach. So my notes are all mixed up here. They changed the fights around, I think. Okay. So Alves, he's a very good grappler. He's got very good submissions. On the feet, he's got some good power as well. He can throw some bombs and knock you out. He's not the most technical, but he can do that. He's more so the grappler submission guy. He's going to try to get you out of there that way. He can slow down as the fight goes on, and he can leave himself open. He's a little hittable at times on the feet as well. Dalby is a very well-rounded fighter. He's okay at everything. Like there's just nothing like he's really, really good at, but he's not really bad at anything either. So he's got okay striking, okay wrestling and takedowns. When he does get taken down, he can be controlled. He doesn't have the greatest grappling or BJJ, if you want to say, but he can make it work. He's pretty durable. I believe he hasn't been knocked out or finished in his career. Let me look. Yeah, he's lost by decision 3 times in the UFC and once in the regional scene. So he's never been finished. So he's pretty durable. But Alves is a beast, and he could get that finish. And I believe Alves started out as an underdog, and I don't think he is now. But I like Alves to win this fight. I just think he's the more dangerous fighter of the two. And I think he can land some good shots on the feet and maybe stun Dalby, and then he can go for the wrestling and takedown and try to get that submission, maybe like a club and sub win. I think he can win a decision by landing the harder shots and control time. I think the only way Dalby wins is if he keeps it on the feet and just outstrikes Alves and wins a 29-28 decision. But I think Alves has more paths to victory. He's got the finishing ability. I don't think Dalby does. And yeah, give me Alves. I like him to win. I'm going to say he does get this win. Um, I'm going back and forth with decision or submission, but Dalby's really tough. Like I'm just going to say decision. I think Alves will win this one by decision. He's going to try his hardest, Alves, to get Dalby out, but Dalby's just one of those guys where he's just very hard to get out of there. Next one is going to be a very fun fight that I'm looking forward to. Terrence T-Rex McKinney versus Ismail Ismail Bonfim. McKinney is 13-4, 28 years old, 5'10 with a 73.5-inch reach, and Bonfim is 18-3, 27 years old, 5'8 with a 71.5-inch reach. So, like I said, this is going to be a very, very fun fight. It might not last as long as some people might want it to, because both these guys are finishers. But T-Rex is very well rounded. He's an explosive striker. He's got real power in his hands, good straights right down the middle. He's very good wrestler too. We've only seen him a little bit here and there, but he's got very good wrestling, very good takedowns, very good submissions as well when he's on top. And he's just a super explosive guy. He can be a little too reckless. We did see in the Dober fight, he went all out in that fight, but he did say that he knew he didn't have the cardio to go all 3 rounds. So he really wanted to try to get that knockout early because he was on short notice. And he almost did like 3 times, but we know Dober is one of those guys that he just doesn't go away. And I don't think Dober's ever been knocked out. Maybe he's been submitted, but I don't think he's ever been knocked out either. He just has one of those chins that's just tough to get him out. But yeah, the one little red flag with McKinney is, if he goes all out here and he gasses himself, like he could get finished. So he's almost like a kill or be killed fighter. But Bonfim, though, making his UFC debut, he's got very solid striking with power. He does have good wrestling and grappling himself, but he's just a solid prospect. And I know his brother's going to be fighting later on in the card, but I'll say it now. I don't think he's the best Bonfim. I think the other, his brother Gabriel is, but not to say that he's bad. I just think his technique with his striking is a little bit not as good. But this is going to be a very close fight. I don't see this fight going to the decision or judges' scorecards, but I'm going to go with T-Rex. I know a lot of people are going to be on Bonfim, and for good reason. He's very, very dangerous and very good prospect. But I think McKinney is going to take this fight more serious. He had a full training camp. He knows he wants to move up the rankings. And in an interview, McKinney said if he wins this fight, he was either guaranteed or they're going to try to make it happen to fight Patty next. So he really wants to fight Patty. I've seen it on social media that he wants Patty. He's not going to lose this opportunity if that's his opportunity to get Patty next. And I think that'd be a very, very good fight if that does happen. But like I said, I'm not saying that's why I'm picking him, but I'm just saying he's got motivation to win this fight, full camp. So he's more experienced. He's not making his UFC debut or anything. It's going to be in Brazil. There might be a little more pressure on Bonfim here. His brother is fighting. He wants to win too. So there's a lot of stuff going for Bonfim. And I'm not trying to say he's bad, but I'm just throwing all the stuff out there. But I like McKinney to win this one. And I'm going to say by knockout. I think he gets that finish. I don't know if it's the first round. It could be this early second or like second round sometime. But I will say, though, I think if the fight does get to the third round, I think Bonfim will win that round. Whether it goes decision or not, he might get a finish in the third round, too. So give me McKinney by knockout. I like it. This is going to be a good fight. Next one is going to be Jailton Almeida versus Shamil Abdurakhimov. I hope I said that pretty decently. Almeida is 17-2, 31 years old, 6'3", with a 79-inch reach. And Shamil is 20-7, 41 years old, 6'3", with a 76-inch reach. So we all know that Almeida is a monster. He's got amazing striking. Well, I shouldn't say amazing striking. He's got very good striking, good power in his hands. He's an amazing grappler, and then he's a very good wrestler with very good takedowns as well. Submissions, like he's just a sub guy. He's going to get you down there. He's going to go for the sub or maybe ground and pound, depending on what happens. And he can do anything he wants, basically. He normally fights, at light heavyweight, but he's been fighting heavyweight recently in his last few fights, and he's just a monster. And Shamil, I mean, he's a very solid guy. He's very well rounded. He's got good wrestling and good striking, good power. He's going to be the bigger guy. He's a true heavyweight, and Almeida is just like a hybrid between heavyweight and light, but he's just built like he's very strong. So there's just a lot of red flags for Shamil here. Unfortunately, he's over 40 years old. He's going up against a killer who's super strong. He's got knockout power. I mean, he's been knocked out 3 times in a row. Ooh, I think this is very tough for Shamil. So give me Almeida here. I think he does get that takedown early like he usually does, and then he works for that submission. If he doesn't get it, he'll go for that ground and pound. I don't see this fight getting out of the first round, unfortunately, for Shamil. So give me Almeida here by submission first round. It's going to be fun for however long it lasts, if you want to say. Next fight, which is the other Bonfim brother, Gabriel Bonfim versus um, Munir Lazzez. Bonfim is 13-0, 25 years old, 6'1 with a 72.5-inch reach. Lazzez is 11-2, 35 years old, 6'1 with a 76-inch reach. So, like I said, I think this is the better of the two Bonfim brothers. He's making his UFC debut, obviously. He's very well rounded. He's got very good striking and grappling and submissions. Most of his wins have come by finish, I believe. A lot of them, I should say. I think there's only been a few that haven't. So, like submission, submission, knockout, submission, submission. I think this might have been a decision. Doesn't say how. But yeah, most of these have come by submission. He does have good power in his hands, but it's he gets a lot of his wins, I think, by like almost like a club and subs type of thing. Like he gets the fighter down from striking, and then he'll work his submissions to get it that way. He doesn't just go straight for takedowns and then work for the submissions most times. But very talented fighters, and then like I said, there's a lot of stuff that you know he's in Brazil, his hometown, his home country. His brother's on the card. He's fighting a very solid guy in Lazzez who has very good striking, very technical, very good straights down the middle. He can be hittable, but he does throw a lot of volume with good power. He doesn't really have too much of a ground game that he uses, but he does wrestle and grapple if he needs to. He wants to keep this fight standing. So this is a very close fight again, but I'm gonna say Gabriel does win this one. Like I said, I think he's a little bit more talented than his brother. Not trying to take anything away from his brother, but I see a little bit more star power in Gabriel than I do with his other brothers. So this isn't going to be an easy fight for him. I know he's the slight favorite. Um, maybe it should be a little bit closer to a pick 'em, I would say, but I do think he is the rightful favorite because Lazzez is a tough dude, very good striker. Like this is a close fight, but I'm gonna give. I just think there's a little bit more. He's more well-rounded than Lazzez. If this fight does get to the mat, he can go for takedowns, and I think he can get Lazzez down eventually. And on the feet, that's where it's going to be close. But I do think Bonfim can at least hang with Lazzez's striking, and maybe even, like I said, he's a little hittable. So I think he can land some good shots too. So give me Bonfim him. I'm going to say it's going to be a pretty close decision win, but this is going to be a fun fight as well. Okay, next one we have is Thiago Moises versus I'm gonna say Milk Pasta. Not gonna try to pronounce that first name, but I'll try. Melquizial. We'll say Milk. Moises is 16-6, 27 years old, 5'9 with a 70.5-inch reach, and Milk is 19-5, 26 years old, 5'10 with a 73-inch reach. So, like I said earlier, Moises was supposed to fight Garam, and I really wanted to see Garam fight, and it's unfortunate. But hey, this is a pretty good fight too. I had Garam winning in that fight. So, but Moises is very solid everywhere. He's very well rounded. He's more so a grappler. He has got good takedowns, but he has been developing a very good striking game. It's very solid, good boxing, good tech, good counters as well. It's got some power in his hands as too. In his last 4 losses, like he's fought really, really good guys. Like he lost to Joel Alvarez. He's very good. He lost it. Makachev, he did pretty decent in that fight. If you look back at it, he was one of the fighters that actually gave Makachev a run for his money a bit. But every time he's fighting like the top of lightweight, he doesn't do well. But if he's not fighting those guys, he does very well. He makes it look easy. He beat Christos by rear naked choke very easily. Alex Hernandez pretty easily, and Bobby Green. Bobby Green's pretty solid, so that's a good win from him. So, but with Costa, like he's making his UFC debut on short notice. He likes to push forward. He's not the most technical of strikers, but he's got good finishing ability on the feet. He's got good grappling as well, good okay submissions too, but he wants to keep this fight on the feet mainly. He does have decent takedowns too if he does get in trouble or if he wants to work up against a cage, try to go for those takedowns too. He does pretty well at that. So I think this is going to be a good fight, but I'm going to give it to Moises here. I think he's just a little bit better at the moment right now everywhere. Coming in on short notice is going to be tough for Melk to win this one against a very solid veteran. This isn't no bottom of the barrel, like gatekeeper type of guy. Like Moises is solid. Like he's just right below, the rankings a bit. He's right there on the cusp. But we just know lightweight is so good. A lot of killers in that division. So it's going to be tough for him to move up the rankings, but he's no joke. Give me Moises here. I do think he's going to work his grappling and maybe get like a club and sub. Or if he does go for takedowns, I think he can get the submission win. I'm going to say in the second or third round, but give me Moises to win by submission. Going to be a good fight. And speaking of replacement fighters, Gregory Rodrigues versus Bruno Ferreira. Rodrigues is 13-4, 30 years old, 6'3", with a 75-inch reach. And Bruno is 9-0, 30 years old, 5'10", and I'm not sure his reach. I'm going to guess it's probably in the low 70s. I could be wrong about that. Let's see. So Rodrigues is very well rounded. He's got very solid striking with power in his hands. It's very durable. We've seen in his last fight against Chitty, he literally got cut open right in the middle of his eyes, and you saw like all the nerves and the bone and all that stuff. And like it was just nasty. But he's very durable. He even got the win. He got the knockout win even after that. It's just insane how he did that. But he's got good wrestling and good grappling himself. He doesn't really use it that often, but I think when he does, he kind of gasses himself out a little bit more than he likes. So he doesn't use it unless he needs it. Also, so with Bruno, he's making his UFC debut on short notice because he's replacing. Who was it? I forgot already. He's replacing somebody I can't think about top of my head, and he's got good striking, good power in his hands, very strong. He can go for wrestling or takedowns, and he has decent wrestling and grappling himself, but he's more so a striker. He wants to keep it on the feet. He'll only use that takedown if he's in trouble, or if the opportunity presents himself, he'll like pick you up and then slam you down and stuff like that and go for ground and pound. But this is a good fight, actually. And on a full camp with Bruno, like, I don't know. I think it'll be very close if that happened, but I'm going to go with Rodrigues. It's just tough picking these UFC debut guys, even though I think Bruno is very good. On short notice, too, I don't know how his cardio is going to look. I think a lot of his wins have come in the first or second round. Let me look real quick. Let's see, first round, second round, or second round, first round. Yeah, so he's a finisher, and he gets most of these wins in the first round or early second round. So I don't know how he's going to look with his cardio. We know Rodrigues can go all 3 rounds and hard 3 rounds. And even if Rodrigues uses his wrestling early, maybe just to wear down Bruno and like his power isn't going to be that great, then I think he can get this win. I'm going to say by knockout because Rodrigues is just a monster. I'm going to say it comes in the second round. First round's going to be fireworks, guys. It's going to be great. Um, am I a little worried about this cut though? I will say he is coming back a little quick. So yeah, it's been like 3 months, almost 4 months ago that happened. So I'm wondering if like he gets hit a couple times there, if it's going to start maybe open up again. Maybe not as bad. I hope not, because that was nasty. But you know how sometimes with cuts, like if you have like that soft tissue there, it's easier to break open. I know a lot of fighters bleed really easily, and like the damage, Darren Elkins, he bleeds all the freaking time, and he doesn't really even get hit. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen here, but that's going to make the judges think that the damage was a little bit worse or better than it was. So give me Rodrigues here. I think he gets that knockout in the second or third round. This is a fun fight. Shogun Hua versus Ior Potieria. Shogun is 27, 13, and 1, 41 years old, 6'1", with a 76-inch reach. And Potieria is 18 and 3, 26 years old, 6'3", with a 75-inch reach. So we all know who Shogun is. He is a legend of the game. Unfortunately, he did announce early that this was going to be his retirement fight. So that's something you have to take into account here. He wants to do it in Brazil, and I think that's a great thing for him to do. He is a solid striker with power. He's got good grappling. He doesn't really use it that often, but he can. Um, another little red flag. He's over 40 years old. That's something you got to think about. He's a little bit slower. Maybe he doesn't have as much power as he used to, but he's always durable. And his last fight against OSP, a lot of people thought he won that fight. He lost by split decision. I'll be honest, I was one of those people. I thought he won that fight. I thought he had more volume. I thought he landed the better shots. And it's unfortunate they lost that fight, but I thought he won. It was 6 months ago. So he looked pretty decent in that fight. And but Eeyore, he's a solid striker with good power. He's kind of wild at times. He's very hittable against even mediocre fighters. Like even if they're not good strikers, like he's hittable. He likes to take one to give one. And he likes to get in the brawls more times than not. He's got a solid chin, but we've seen his cardio go down quick, especially if he gets in those brawls early and he's not winning those brawls. In his last fight, I think it was against Nicolau, he got knocked out in the second round and he was gassed after that first round to the point where he barely could stand and he didn't do anything and he got knocked out. So I'm going to go with the underdog here. I'm going to go with the older gentleman he's going to go out on a bang with in his retirement here in Brazil. I think he's going to win this fight. I think he can survive the first round. I think he can hold him up against the cage, maybe wear him down a bit. I think he's going to be the bigger guy, the stronger guy in the grappling department anyways. And if he does get hit a couple times, I think Shogun can take the hits. I just don't know if Potieria can take the hits. So eventually, and if this fight gets into the second round, like I said, give me Shogun all day. Maybe this is a good live betting opportunity after the first round if you don't want to do it too early. But if it does get into the second round, like look that Shogun prop or live bet here. So I think Shogun will get the knockout. I think he'll either standing or he just gasses and ground and pound knockout and finishes it on the ground. So give me Shogun here to win by knockout. I think he's going to win his retirement fight and end on a good note. Main card is going to be Paul Craig versus Johnny Walker. This is going to be an interesting fight. Paul Craig, 16-5-1, 35 years old, 6'3", with a 76-inch reach. Johnny Walker is 19-7, 30 years old, 6'6", with an 82-inch reach. So we all know who Paul Craig is. Very good grappler with amazing submissions. He can get you out of there with 1 second left in the third round. But he's got his striking is mediocre, and I'm being generous at best. He doesn't really have the most power in his hands. His technique is not great. His cardio fades after the first round, especially if he's trying to get that submission and he doesn't get it. And Johnny Walker, we've seen some improvement in his last fight. He showed us a little bit of grappling, which I hope he doesn't try to do that again because he's going to lose the grappling exchanges. He needs to keep this fight on the feet. He's a very good striker, though. He's going to be very big, tall. He's going to have the 3-inch height and 6-inch reach advantage. He manages his range very well. He's got good spinning elbows and kicks and stuff like that if he wants to use it. He can be reckless at times. His chin's a little still suspect, but he doesn't have to worry about that here. I think this Johnny Walker should win this fight 9 out of 10 times. And the only time that Craig will win this fight is if he gets a flash submission in the first round, kind of like he did against Krylov. So I'm going to go with Walker here. I do think he defends those takedowns. He doesn't get in those grappling situations. He's going to stay away. I know Craig's going to invite him down to the mat like he did against Volkan Ozdemir, and Volkan was like, "No, thank you. I want you back up." It's the right thing to do. I know it kind of looks crappy, but that's the right thing to do for him, and I trust that he's going to do it. I think Walker is going to get this one done. Craig is very, very tough, and he's hard to get out of there. He has a solid chin, so I'm going to say, I think the over is at 1.5. And I think I'm looking at that. I think it's at plus money. I think that may happen. I think it might be a very slow fight and it will go to decision. That's my hot take here. But I'm going to go with Johnny Walker to win. I think he's going to win by decision. I think he's going to be very safe because he knows that he can get submitted in a second. So I think he'll just win the striking exchanges and stay on the feet. That's how he's going to win this fight, just like Volkan did. And he won that fight really easily. Next one here is going to be Jessica Andrade versus Lauren Murphy. Andrade is 23 and 9, 31 years old, 5'1" with a 62-inch reach. And Murphy is 16 and 5, 39 years old, 5'5" with a 68-inch reach. So we know that Andrade is very aggressive. She's got power in her hand. She's a decent striker. She likes to work the body with her strikes, which I love for a fighter to do. She's very strong, good takedowns and ground and pound when she's the one doing the takedowns. She doesn't really use her ground game that much unless she wants to, she's up against the cage and maybe get you down there for ground and pound. She does have sneaky submissions, as we've seen in her last fight against Lemos. That was a standing arm triangle choke, which was crazy. She's just a finisher. She wants to go in there and she wants to knock you out, and I like that. Murphy is a pretty solid striker. She can wrestle. She has some good takedowns. She has good cardio and very durable, so that's going to be tough for Andrade to get her out of there. But she can be hittable at times, and she's also strong in the clinch too. So both these girls are strong, but I'm going to go with Andrade here. I think the finishing ability alone, power in her hands, and she's tough, durable as well. Both these girls are very durable, but I'm going to give Andrade just the more dangerous. She's the more dangerous fighter. And do I think the line? Do I think the line is wide here? Yes. I would not want to bet her at almost minus 450, 500 range. I think that's crazy, but um, I do think Andrade does win this one. I don't think it's going to be by a knockout or anything. I think this will go to decision. And more times than not, when Andrade loses, when it goes to decision, she does lose. So that's something to think about too. And usually Murphy wins those decisions when she gets there. So I still think Andrade will land the better shots, maybe get some control time on the mat if she can get those takedowns. So give me Andrade here by decision. If she gets a knockout, I'll be shocked because Murphy is tough. But I would not bet the money line at all. Next one is going to be, oh man, here we go. Gilbert Burns versus Neil Magny. Very good fight. Burns is 20 and 5, 36 years old, 5'10 with a 71-inch reach. Magny is 27 and 9, 35 years old, 6'3 with an 80-inch reach. So you already see right there, Burns is going to be down 5 inches of height and 9 inches of reach, which is crazy. But Burns is, let me get to my notes. Like I said, they changed around all these. Okay, so Burns is a very well-rounded fighter. He's got very good grappling. He's got good striking with power. And that Chimaev fight, he's seen his striking and how good it was. He can take a punch, very durable. And yeah, the only red flags with me for him is going to be the smaller fighter, like by a lot. And Magny is very well rounded too. He's got good striking, good jabs, manages his range very well, good kicks. If this fight gets to the mat, he's very good at that as well. So he's got good grappling, good submissions too. So I would give the edge with grappling though with Burns. Um, but on the feet, I think it's going to be closer than you think because you would immediately think Burns is going to be the better striker, which he could be. But that range is going to give him so much problems. And I do think Burns is going to need to use his wrestling and grappling here and maybe get close up to him because if not, Magny's going to pick him apart just with that jab. And we've seen Burns kind of get a little, he's kind of hittable at times too at range. So with Chimaev kept rushing forward, even though Chimaev was the bigger guy. So he was within boxing range for him. But Magny stays back. He keeps his range very well. So it's not the same fighter here. So he's not going to keep pushing forward in the boxing range, Magny. So I'm going to go Burns here. I think this fight does go to decision. Both these guys are very tough to get out of there. And I would say the most finishing ability would be Burns and maybe by submission. I just don't think Burns will be able to land a knockout shot unless he stuns him maybe and then maybe gets a club and sub. But man, it's just, this is going to be a close fight. And then the line again, minus 400 for Burns is crazy. I still think Burns wins, but man, I don't like it. I'm looking at that over 1.5, and I think it's close to a pick 'em or over 2.5. I'm sorry. It's close to a pick 'em, and I like that over 2.5 way more. But I still think Burns gets this one done. It's going to be a very good fight. I want to see what happens here. Co-main event, Davison Figueiredo versus Brandon Moreno. Four guys. It's crazy. Figueiredo is 21-2 and 1, 35 years old, 5'5 with a 68-inch reach. Moreno is 26 and 2, 29 years old, 5'7 with a 70-inch reach. So we broke this down so many times. This is the fourth time we broke down this fight, guys. So there's not really much else to say because they've only been fighting each other for the last 2 years or whatever it's been. How long has it been? Pretty interesting to say that. Almost 2 years they've been only fighting each other. So think about that. But I'll break it down. Here we go. So Figgy, I'm gonna say both these guys are very well rounded. They both have good grappling, they got good wrestling, they have very good striking. They're just a little bit different with their striking. Moreno's a little bit better boxer. I would say Figgy has a little bit more power in his hands. He's a little bit more if you want to say unorthodox, if you want to say, with his striking. He's a little bit wild at times. He can be hittable when he is wild, which is Moreno might have the technical edge, like I said, but Moreno is hittable too. So we seen in his last fight, with their last fight, I should say, Moreno got knocked down once or twice by Figgy, and I think this fight's going to stay on the feet. I'd be shocked if it doesn't. And if it does, maybe Figgy goes for those takedowns. I don't think Moreno will go for takedowns. And I'm going to go with the same guy that I picked in all three. I'm going to go with Figgy to win. I know a lot of people are going to pick Moreno, and I get it. But this is going to be another close decision win by whoever is just going to do that much better than the other person. And I just think Figgy lands the better shots, and it's just going to be more impactful. And I think he'll squeak out a 48-47 decision. It might end up going to split decision. I thought he won that last fight as he should have. It was unanimous. I think that was right. Moreno beat him by submission. So, I mean, that was a good win. And let's go back to the draw. Figgy was winning that fight until the point deduction, which made it a majority decision. So it was a draw. That kick didn't happen. Figgy would have won. We probably wouldn't have seen the next three fights here. So give me Figueiredo. I know he's getting up there. He's 35 years old now, which is something to think about. I'm going to go. I think he's going to do just enough in the first 3 or 4 rounds. And Moreno might win that 5th round pretty easily. I think he has better cardio than Figgy. But I like Figgy to win this one. I think he's a slight underdog at the moment. Maybe like minus 105. I'm going to see where the line goes. Hopefully I can get plus money on Figgy. That's what I did last time at plus 150, and it worked out. Very good fight, though. And the main event here, Glover Teixeira versus Jamal Hill. Glover Teixeira is 33 and 8, 43 years old, 6'2 with a 76-inch reach. And Jamal Hill is 11 and 1, 31 years old, 6'4 with a 79-inch reach. So we all know the Glover, very good wrestler and grappler with some very good submissions. He's got solid striking and power in his hands. He's very durable. He's got solid cardio for a 43-year-old. And I'm not trying to be mean when I say that. He does have very good cardio for an older gentleman. We've seen him in the 5-round war with Yuri. He was winning that fight until the last 30 seconds. And he does. I mean, he doesn't have the best takedown defense if he gets taken down, but he's not going to get taken down. So Jamal Hill's going to keep this fight on the feet. And then Jamal Hill's a very good striker. He's got solid, quick straights right down the middle with power. He can knock you out with one shot. And I do think he can knock out Glover too. And Glover was just in that war with Yuri. And I know people are going to say that Yuri is better than Jamal Hill, which he potentially could be. But I just want to say this, technical wise, I think Jamal Hill is the better striker technically than Yuri. Yuri's more unorthodox, spinning, wild, crazy kicks. He keeps his arms really low. That's just the style that he is. He's got a good chin. But Hill is more of a boxer. He's more upright. He's going to be harder to hit on the feet. He's quicker right down the middle, like I said. He puts you out. So this is a different type of fight for Glover. And this is going to be a big step up in competition for Jamal Hill, too. But for my pick, I'm going to go with Jamal Hill. I know a lot of people are going with Glover, and I totally get it because if Glover can get those takedowns and wear on him, he can probably get a submission here. But, and you're going to go, and people are going back to the Santos fight with Jamal Hill. He was taken down like 6 or 7 times, however much it was. But I don't think Jamal Hill was training for a wrestling, grappling Santos. Like that even surprised me. I thought that fight was going to play out on the feet. And Santos tried. It was a good game plan, but he ended up getting knocked out later in that fight because Hill survived. And then Jamal Hill is going to be training for defending that takedowns and the grappling exchanges because I do think he's going to have the edge on the feet, and then Glover's going to have the edge on the mat. So it just depends on what you think is going to happen. Do you think Glover's going to get those takedowns and get the sub? Then pick Glover. If you think he's going to have a tough time, I like Hill here. So I'm going to go with Hill, the 43 years old. We don't know if this is going to be Glover's last fight in Brazil. Everything kind of sets up that way. So we'll see. I know Glover's going to want to get his belt back, but man, this is tough. And I was going back and forth before I started doing this video with this one, and I'm still kind of. I'm going to go with Jamal Hill. I think he's going to get the knockout in the 3rd round or something like that. I think he's going to be able to stuff the takedowns early. I think Glover might actually want to try to see how the striking exchanges will go and see if he can win on the feet because I don't know because he didn't really try. Well, he did actually. I shouldn't say that. I'm thinking of the Yuri fight and how that played out. But this is going to be a very good fight. Very super close, but I'm going to go with Hill. I think he does land that 1-2 down the middle. It'll stun Glover, and I think he'll end up finishing it on the ground with ground and pound for the knockout. So going with Hill by knockout, very close fight. I get it. If you pick Glover, I don't blame you. But yeah, those are my picks and predictions for UFC 280. Like I said, I don't have any official bets yet. I am looking at like five bets right now. Over unders are out already, so I'm looking at those two. I already mentioned a few that I was looking at throughout the video, so I'm gonna probably place my bets here in either today or tomorrow, and I'll post them on my Instagram and Twitter like I always do. So definitely check that out. Um, yeah, thanks for everybody for watching. I hope everybody enjoys the fights for this weekend because it's a really stacked card with 15 of them. I know I went longer than I usually do, but I had to go over 15 fights. It's crazy. So, like I said, yeah, thanks for watching. Hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't. And until next time, happy fight night.